Thank you again for voting, and we appreciate it. Now we are going to get to our first official presentation in the EcoCast. And joining me here momentarily is going to be Tyler Mitchell from Couchbase. Now, Tyler is Senior Product Marketing Manager with Couchbase. And Tyler, thank you for being here today. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Keith. Good to see you.
It is my pleasure. Really looking forward to your presentation. I love what Couchbase is doing right now. So I am going to turn the virtual mic over to you, and I will see you on the other end for some fun Q&A.
Great, thanks. And I appreciate you setting the stage for kind of digital transformations and updates everyone needs to do in their application stack, and the complexity of hardware and software kind of mixed in there in what you're talking about. Today, you'll see my subtitle is kind of got an AI snuck in there. But really, folks, and those of you that see my presentations before will know, try to give the overall picture of the patterns that we see in the environment for developers, not just show our product off, but talk about why the engineering and architecture of your products is essential for protecting and safeguarding yourself in the future. So that's kind of that support and enabling of modern applications means you need to be able to keep running these things in the future as well. But it's a small little AI snuck in there. You'll see it throughout the slides, but you can stick in any kind of modern system challenge that you've got today instead of AI. So don't just think of this as just talking about AI, but it's talking about any kind of big change that you have in your systems going forward. And here's how we really see the AI challenges, or general challenges again, overall that's in the market these days. Anyone who's been getting into development these days knows that there's constantly moving targets. Everything's changing. There's new products. There's new frameworks. There's new data pipeline tools and everything. Every day there's stuff coming out. And how do you figure out which products and frameworks, et cetera, to use? And how can we glom onto standards? Standards was a huge thing before when databases adopted SQL, and when more and more developers started using SQL as one example. That standard has revolutionized data architectures for the last 50 years. So that's a good example of what the landscape's looking like today. A lot of churn, a lot of change. And if you follow the analysts' predictions, there will be some survivors at the end. There will be some things that are jettisoned and put aside. And we are kind of always waiting to see who the next winners are in our different kinds of races. And architecture itself just continues to be the same challenges that we've had over the past. So the complexity and database sprawl aspect, more apps to support, more training needed for every type of app that supports your architecture on the back end, and the challenge of keeping developers up to date and giving them the tools they want is it's not gone away. It's still there, and depending on kind of how big your walled garden is, you have more or less exposure to that. One of the things I wanted to really just drive home today for you is to show that the column on the left here, these 5 categories that I've kind of arbitrarily picked, really just highlights that managing resources and workflows is more important than ever. It's been this way for a long time, that these kind of 4 or 5 categories are essential, and these are the main areas that you could think of as challenges in building applications that can scale and go forward into the future. This is not necessarily any different than what we're dealing with today. So we have the same technical challenges that we've had in the past, but when you mix in something like AI and LLMs and agentic stuff, we just multiply it. I say by 1,000. I don't know what the order of magnitude is there, but we multiply the challenges that already existed in ways that we haven't necessarily talked about, and I haven't seen talked about in many presentations. So I wanted to bring them up here. So consider the compute aspect. It was used to be like, you needed a processor, you need to power your application, whether it's a mobile processor or a PC or a server processor. Well, now we need a compute process that's across all of those platforms simultaneously, We need compute storage or compute on the cloud services that are, running your RAG application. You need compute on your mobile device that's doing vector searching, etc. It just doesn't go away. It just gets more and more complex. Same with storage. It's just going to keep growing. So consider some of the storage things that are essential. We're not just talking about storing some tables. We're now talking about storing vector indexes and embeddings. And you're going to need to have space for what I would call ephemeral storage that the backends will be needing while they're processing, chunking your data, indexing, caching, etc. It's going to be a challenge going forward for anybody on the storage front. So it's easy, I think, as we've moved to the cloud and as we've adopted like cloud AI solutions, for example, it kind of glosses over some of the challenges that everybody has. Selecting models, choosing the types of apps and agents that you're going to develop, having that data processing pipeline figured out, et cetera, et cetera. They're all problems we've had in the past. They're all problems that just got and challenges that just got much, much bigger as we talk about what our visions are for the future. So don't forget these. It's not, like it looks a little easier when we can point to an online cloud vendor and say, oh, it solves all the problems. But you still need to understand all of these things and handle all these things in your data architecture, or you're going to be at the mercy of somebody else's business needs. So we're not just talking theory here. We're also been talking to our customers. We've got lots of customers that are doing really interesting things. For example, I know on the screen here, we've got a Louis Vuitton mobile catalog on the left, a Staples store catalog and inventory management, Hammerhead cycling device with predictive path technology and offline availability. We have Carnival medallion program they use for managing cabins on their cruises, etc. And these are a diverse range of applications and data needs, but they are also really share some commonalities, and that is that the users, the customers, and the developers are all demanding new, sophisticated applications. And customers tell us that in the past 10 to 15 years, there's been a revolution in how they design, develop, deploy their applications, and how they address their data needs. So modern applications, as we all probably are aware of, but haven't necessarily admitted, modern applications look and behave dramatically differently than previous application epochs. So we've gone from kind of having static inputs to needing dynamic data. We now have social interactions, we have AI agents, collaborations, wearable computing, mobile and edge user experiences that are also expected to be real time. So we're really talking about trying to do more for the user and more for the developer, and try to have lower costs while doing it. So really doing more with less. And that's a real challenge, but it is our sweet spot as a company, and I'll get into that more in a few minutes. But I wanted to just highlight these, that AI is really the agent of change here. So as we're developing applications, take this as your sign to develop not just new AI applications, but also to integrate modern data architecture into your portfolio. And kind of continuing the concept of more complexity, I want to just flash a couple of these screens up. These are from the VectorDB comparison page. I forget exactly the web URL for that, but it's also got some Hugging Face models and AI applications in the background there. There's thousands and thousands of these different moving parts in the AI architecture landscape, from data ingestion to data analysis to managing workflows and being able to run multiple agents. You have a lot of choices at a lot of different levels, and it's highly complex to kind of roll this on your own. That times 1,000 metric I gave earlier, You can see why you have to choose vendors, you have to choose models, you have to choose frameworks, you have to hope and pray you've chosen the right standards, etc. So keep that in mind as you're building a plan for the future, that you're going to hit this massive complexity. And just to drive it home one more way is that the old paradigm was the application talked to a database and the application serviced a user in a certain way. The new paradigm is much more nuanced and much more dynamic. The natural language inputs and outputs, we could say, are so much more unstructured. So we have users that don't have specifically rigid questions that have to fit into a certain application form or certain set of inputs, but instead the users are given more open access to things. The types of data we're dealing with are not just a database in the back end, but we're dealing with semi-structured or unstructured data. You're dealing with PDFs and audio and video and imagery, etc. There's way more diversity in the types of data that are being interacted with. And then we have the whole kind of AI side of it, which is can be a bit of a black box for people, especially on LLMs and how they're created. And the responses can be variable and can be highly flexible, etc. So you have all this variation in all three of these areas that we've highlighted here in the new paradigm workflow. So the complexity and the challenges are kind of greater than ever. And we put JSON in the middle there because it's kind of the language of AI these days, and it's the core also to our tech stack. But think about your tech stack in a little more complex way than just applications talking to a database backend. I won't go through all of these, but leave this slide for you to look at a little more on your own. But you get the idea that there's challenges for building AI, and there's solutions for how to provide those, address those challenges, whether it's RAG, guardrails, having caching capabilities, etc. So dig into these, and we have more information about all of this on our site where you can dig in more on the AI architecture. This is the main slide that we really, and I've only got a couple more here, really want to draw your attention to. Again, I could talk all day about our solutions and our platform here, and this really is a sketch of our platform, but I encourage you that if you've already committed to other platforms, that you look for how you can replicate this environment as best as possible, because there are certain key strategic challenges that have been addressed, as I've pointed out already in the previous slides. For everything coming from the left there, different types of data have to come into your platform, not just unstructured data and not just structured data. You need, on the right-hand side, you need integrations with external toolings, whether it's modeling, whether it's data pipelines, whether it's analytics and security integrations. And at the top, you have this kind of, at the top left, you have the users and their interactions with agentic AI applications. So all of those different components have to relate and integrate with the center pieces here. And in our centerpiece, kind of buried at the bottom of that center square is the transactional, analytical, and AI vector data and machine learning features that are kind of core to the system. We already have solutions for operational and analytical data solutions, but we've built on top of that with a set of AI intelligent application kind of components. So we have catalogs where you can catalog the agents you have, catalog the services or the models that you have available, make them available to developers. We have data services that suck in data without having to manage it manually and automatically vectorize the data for you, as well as connecting to different embedding models, and through the NVIDIA NIM program, having access to many LLMs without having to just choose one, for example. So our newest capabilities are really centered around building this AI platform for you to help you move forward. If you do not address the challenges that I've shown already, these are the bottlenecks, just a few of the bottlenecks that you're going to hit, or the costs you're going to hit I say bottlenecks, data bottlenecks. You're not going to be able to get your data in and out as smoothly as you need to for the user experience you're aiming for. Also, the unscalable framework side of it means as your system and demand grows, you're going to hit barriers there, especially if you're reliant on third-party services in the AI spectrum. The lack of integration will make you struggle, and you'll be fighting against standardization as some of these tooling, the best of breed tooling is already leaning towards what the standards will look like. And then also the technical debt side, you'll be chasing maintenance nightmares forever. So please take these considerations and challenges into consideration. And wrapping up here, this is how we view the world in terms of critical database applications or data platform driven applications. You need to have obviously SDKs at the bottom, and deployment tools need to be available. It needs to be secure and flexible. Yes, we've heard all of this before, and it's the same story before, except these, like I was saying, are kind of 1,000x more important than they were before. If the challenges are that much harder, this architecture here actually solves for those challenges in a transactional way or an AI workload way. But you need that in-memory architecture, you need the distributed architecture, and you need the multi-purpose access services. So in this case, you put your data in once, and then it's accessible through transactional mobile applications, through AI workloads, and everything. So I encourage you to check it out. We're not a small company. We've got over 1,000 employees. And we really service that Fortune 100 and as well as startups. So you can get started today I would suggest the Capella free tier. You can get our cloud version of the database. You can sign up for free. You can use it for free. It's like a single node version of our database, and you can just keep using it until you're ready to scale up, and then you can pay. Or you can check out our AI services if you want to do a little more advanced preview of that. So that's all I've got for now. Keith, how are we looking on this poll? Let's see.
The poll is up and going, Tyler, and I encourage everyone to vote while we are going through the Q&A. First of all, Tyler, I want to say great presentation. Loved how you laid out everything that Couchbase is doing and the challenges that developers face today, which are so much different than they faced, again, when I mentioned back in my day, sounding like an old guy, which I am, and what we face. It's just a different era, and things are not going to be what they were before. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here while we get the questions ready. I'm going to go back to that previous slide. Let's leave that one up so that everyone on the event right now can have a little more time to look at those QR codes. I also want to remind everyone that along with the poll question, please go over to the docs section and check out the Couchbase resource, which is right over there. Some really good stuff there as well. All right, so you ready for some questions now, Tyler?
Yeah, I see some there. Yep.
Yeah, let's get to those. So Michael asks, isn't AI almost automatic today, describing just about any IT or even consumer product, just as recently as it was smart or intelligent or big data, even if there wasn't anything more than an algorithm? So is AI really, Michael is asking, is it really just another name for automation? That is a very interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, you can guess what I'm going to say, and the word is complexity, and the infinite complexity. It's almost unbearable. But we spent many years in the big data solutions arena, and even before AI came in, or even as AI was coming into the conversation more, many companies haven't solved their big data challenges, or their data lake. All their data is still sitting in their data lake, you could say. And now you have to contend with AI. So it's kind of like a permutation of the past problems, but time's up. You need to be able to access stuff. But at least in the AI side of things, we at least have the common language of creating embeddings and doing vector search and things like that to get information back out. Whereas a lot of companies really struggled to kind of get out of the big data challenge by throwing different tools at their huge repository of kind of unstructured data. So it's not just automation, but it's actually like, in a way, it's created a lowest common denominator language for getting the information out in a maybe a more productive way, maybe not. So how you choose the architecture is pretty important, and that's why we're about scalability is more important than ever, because we know that once you have a good solid data platform, you're going to keep throwing more data into it, and you have to be able to still always get the data back out. Everyone talked about not just getting analytics out, but getting insights out. And it's still the same challenge, the same problem today, but you've got a lot more different types of data, and the user wants to be in charge, not having a predefined dashboard, for example. The user wants to be able to ask for what they want. That's the premise going forward.
Yeah, and of course the growth of data is not slowing; it is only accelerating with everything that is out there. But Mao, I'm surprised how I thought Hadoop was going to solve all of the problems with big data that there ever were, right? So hey, how did
exactly.
that work?
Yeah,
I'm old enough to remember that too.
It turns out indexing and scalability was kind of important, and you can't just randomly throw nodes at stuff.
Who knew? Who knew, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we've got a really good question from Paul, and I want to remind everyone again, vote in the poll and look at the resource. Paul wants to know, in what ways does Couchbase and their AI functionality believe they can offer improved DEX, and if so, how does it compare to competitors' products? So when you go out there in the market, how do you differentiate basically what Couchbase offers? Another way of asking that.
Well, what I've watched our engineering team deliver, our product teams deliver and define, has been actually really exciting for me on a personal note, because I've saw the complexity in the AI systems. We could say architectures out there, but because it's such a Wild West scenario, everybody's making little micro choices about which models they're going to use, which integrations they're going to use, which services for querying and cleaning and guardrails and RAG and all of these things. There's so many combinations of them that I was really worried that if you just drop a database in and say, okay, go choose your stuff, that it'll just be a total mess. But what Couchbase has done has been to kind of streamline that developer experience by having a set of kind of trusted internal components. So for example, we use the NVIDIA NIM program to help supply LLMs. So you don't have to bring your own LLM. You can leverage other LLMs, just LLMs as one example. You can leverage other ones that are existing in integrations that we provided, so that you're not having to go out and figure out how to wire up a model to your data platform, or how to wire up guardrails and all these things. Where they're getting integrated into the system, but they're still flexible enough that the integrations with external integrations are possible and easy to do. I hope that makes sense. We've seen other solutions where we're just this back-end data store, so you connect and you figure out how to create embeddings and vector indexes, and you figure out how to query it for what you want. Whereas we're putting in dedicated connectivity to solutions that you can use out of the box, but also customize if you really choose to get in that deep.
Absolutely. And final question before we have to let you go today, Tyler, really appreciate your insights in the Q&A. Here we go. What challenges other than AI are new app developers dealing with? What are you seeing out there?
It's all about scalability, and this memory first architecture that we're talking about is the performance side of it. So performance and scalability haven't gone away. They're just more exposed than ever if you don't have a data architecture that solves for those. So again, back to the big data world and those talking about distributed architectures, that's more important now than ever. And thankfully, Couchbase has been around for over a decade now, solving those problems from day one. So I'd love to tell you more about it another time.
It helps to have a partner who's been there, done that and knows how to solve all of these problems up front. Really good stuff, Tyler. I want to thank you so much for being with us today, for updating us on what Couchbase is doing, and for really kicking this EcoCast off with a bang. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.